Today's training might be a little rough. You sure talk a lot.
What's up, guys, and welcome to What the Gaming. On today's episode, I want to talk about something that might be a little touchy for some people to actually discuss, and that might be, is right now the actual right time, if SoulCalibur 7 were to release, for it to release. Now, I know all of us off the jump that love SoulCalibur and want to see this game return and are now experiencing the longest break in any game that's ever happened between SoulCalibur as a franchise. We want it to come, obviously. The problem lies in the fact of the market and the way that things are right now, which is why I decided to kind of take a look at where we're at right now as gamers and as a community and see like what the industry is doing and whether or not that's beneficial for our franchise coming back, or whether it'll be the nail in the coffin that finally like sends it to its final rest, of which most of us can agree we do not want that to happen. So let's just jump back and relax and have a discussion, and especially in the comment section, I want to hear what you guys have to say. Now, my first point of contention that would be about SoulCalibur coming back right now, which, by the way, there's no producer labeled for the game yet. Project Soul is working currently on other stuff, so the project hasn't even begun early phases of development, let alone like actual active development. So as far as we know, SoulCalibur 7 is pretty far down the pipeline at this point. But what I do want to say is, if it does come out right now, I think it would actually benefit from being held off a bit and coming back a little bit later, maybe utilizing some more technology, maybe a bigger budget, and maybe actually being able to enter the new zeitgeist with something new to offer and a landscape that is kind of done with all of this industry stuff that's going on right now. Now, when I say industry stuff, what does that mean? We were lucky to get SoulCalibur 6 when it came out in 2018. Motohiro Okubo, as well as the director, came together with the team and gave a good proposition to Bandai Namco and their financiers, the investors, to try to actually make this game happen. And through luck and a little bit of elbow grease and glue, they made it happen, much to the happiness of the entire community. And SoulCalibur 6, in my opinion, is a good game. Now, I did want to see the narrative go forward into SoulCalibur 7, and I still do. But what's different about that game in the 2018 release that is different about the landscape, especially of fighting games in the community today? Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is microtransactions, battle passes, and live service monetization and things of that nature. So the reason that I think SoulCalibur could probably hold off for a little bit is let's polish out some details and actually get this done the right way, because when it came out, this stuff wasn't really happening that much until NetherRealm Studios started really implementing it hardcore into games like Mortal Kombat 11 and Injustice 2, which send it down the pipeline with their return on investment, getting other game companies like Capcom to do microtransactions and battle passes and live service elements in games like Street Fighter 6. Now, Street Fighter 6 is an extremely good game in my opinion. It might be one of the best Street Fighters in my opinion, just content-wise in general. But it doesn't stop me from kind of eye-rolling whenever I see something like the Ninja Turtles costing $20 each for a skin when we only have one character we can create in the first place. There were things like that annoyed me. And then coming down the pipeline again, we see all these same kind of transactional things and experiences and battle passes and Fortnite-esque kind of monetization practices in games like Tekken 8. Games that we've never seen these kind of practices in before, now we are. Dead or Alive was probably ahead of its time, doing a lot of stuff with $1 per hair color change with Dead or Alive 6, which I still am upset with to this day, and a lot of really bad microtransactional processes, but a lot of those were cosmetic and you can get them later on or not grinding for these battle pass points to unlock stuff within that battle pass and such. And while I'm not 100% against battle passes and these kind of monetization practices, I do think they drag down the game a little bit, in which when you're going in to try to actually just have fun in the game, you're kind of incentivized to follow a specific way of playing the game so that you can hit those daily markers, those daily goals, and those achievements for the weekly or monthly or whatever they're set for. And I think that actually holds back the games in terms of content and fun, because they know when the developers are baking these into these games that's the streamlined way that they want you to actually take this game. It's a linear path of how they want you to unlock things and how much time and progression they want you to put into certain aspects of the game. Whereas a lot of people may not want to do those things. A lot of people in the SoulCalibur community spend the vast majority of their hundreds of hours in the game in character creation. Or maybe they're trying to unlock all of the last hidden ancients that are inside of, the secondary mode of SoulCalibur 6. I think that, like, any way you play the game is how you play the game, and that's fine. But for me, it takes on almost like a mobile game type quality, where you're logging in for those daily logins, you're doing the certain amount of matches online, you're doing your certain amount of time in this mode or that mode, what have you. And I get it. So some people, that's how games are these days. That's how they're raised with games. They wouldn't expect them any other way. But for those of us that aren't in the 6-7 generation, like, a lot of us actually really want to, spend time with different aspects of the game that we grew up with and we're used to, which is a lot of single player content and also just like playing stuff with friends. So while I think the new generation that's being marketed to now is not incorrect in wanting the things that they want, I think that, like, SoulCalibur, in the way that it's like made and the way that it's like marketed and how it's like put out there as like a, one of the fighting games has like the most amount of single player content that you can, crack your teeth into. I really think that that is something that we can actually come together and say, we don't want really those battle pass situations to go on in that game. I would rather just pay for DLC outright and have the content in the game personally, rather than have to sit there and grind in online ranked or in other mat modes that I may not even pay attention to as a gamer myself. I do play it online a lot. I do verse a lot, but I kind of tend to stay away from ranked because it doesn't really hold any, I guess, like, power over me. I don't really care about being ranked. I don't really care about having like any. The only thing I can really care about, that I do it in Tekken because, like, I don't want that stupid little beginner leaf flower next to my name, so I rank up just so I at least have that gone. But when it comes to like SoulCalibur, especially and specifically, that's not why I play the game. And I get some of you do. That's completely fine. If you guys want to, like, get those battle passes and like show how much you're grinding and like aura farm with like these new like cosmetics and these new like titles and stuff like that, that's all well and good. And I think maybe there should be options to unlock a lot of things like that, like there are in SoulCalibur 6. There's tons of titles and whatnot to unlock, same with SoulCalibur 5. But I think that's probably what I'm the most comfortable with. But I also don't want SoulCalibur to be held back by the other fighting games as being like a relic or being like outdated. I do want it to keep up, and I do want it to kind of invest in itself and prove that it is here and it is one of the big dogs. I think that might be more beneficial for it in the long run. But then again, like, gaming, for me, like, the average gamer, I think they said, even there was like a poll that just came out for like Pokemon that said the average Pokemon player, like, the average is like 42 or something like that, I think, or it might have been 32, but it was somewhere in the range of like 30 and 40, because like people grew up with the game and they kept playing and continuing the game, and like people from new generations don't really hop on, or if they do, they have a different idea of what gaming is from what like we had when we were growing up, which is totally understandable. And I don't think that generation should be held at fault, and I don't think the developers should be held at fault for trying to cater to up-and-comers or like people that are young right now that are probably getting into gaming. That's fine. The problem that I have with SoulCalibur coming out right now is that if it did come out, it would certainly have these, especially being published by Bandai Namco, it would certainly have these kind of, battle passes and microtransactions that I don't think would really benefit the game as a whole. I think it would just kind of hold it back and make it blend in with all of the other like kind of live servicey fighting games that are out right now, which would be like I'm talking about like Tekken 8 and like Street Fighter 6 and stuff like that. Now, of course, there are games that come out that don't have those kind of microtransaction-y things, like kind of like Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, for example. But that game is so bare bones in content, like, that you don't really do much in the game except for play online. There's not really anything to do in that game, to be honest. Like, I think I played it for a week and then like there was just like nothing to do. So while I think that like SoulCalibur could come out and like maybe rise to the top or even like compete with some of the big dogs like Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, we're constantly going to be given new ideas and new innovations when it comes to how to monetize these games, especially with games like Mortal Kombat, for example. So whenever inevitably Mortal Kombat 2 or Injustice 3 does release, like, I'm looking at NetherRealm to see what the future holds for gaming, because they're usually ones that set the precedent for like how these monetization practices work, and people just buy the games and pay for it. So their seasonal stuff, their invasion towers, their all that stuff like has bled into other games, and I really feel like it's not so much innovative than like taking back content that we usually would have just outright paid for with DLC. And I get it, the games are expensive to make, and developers and especially publishers are always trying to find a way to make a buck back and a return on their investment. I just don't want it to be at the cost of the franchise that I love. So if you want my opinion personally, I think that, and I'll probably do a poll on my channel, but I think that SoulCalibur should probably wait a bit to come back. Just if not to build hype and to build intrigue and to like, you know, have some more time in the oven. Also just to like kind of avoid all of this stuff that's going on in the industry right now. But I want to hear from you next and what you think in the comment section down below, or answer the poll that's going to be up on the community tab later today. I will talk about it in my next video, so be sure to check both of those things out. As always, description box has my Discord and all that stuff, so feel free to hop on in there and play with a bunch of us, whatever you want to do. And as I always say, guys, don't be bitter, be better.
Ivy Valentine subscribes to Mark Yoon, so should you. Enjoy your treat!
Sorry, but I gotta go.